Hello, good people. I am back today, as promised, with an episode about pythons of Africa. We are still in the snake world. We have to go through them. Once we finish, we'll go on to another animal. But today, I have uh, an episode about the pythons and the characteristics of the pythons of Africa. I hope you are continuing to subscribe and inviting your friends and also watching the previous videos that are there so that you continue learning. Now, I will go straight to the general characteristics of pythons that we have, and then I will cover the two that we have in Africa, that is the Central African rock python and the Southern African rock python. On to it. The very first characteristics about the pythons in general, including those that are not in Africa, is that these snakes are non-venomous. Pythons do not possess any venom, but they have sharp teeth curved backwards. I said in the very first episode that assists them in swallowing prey. Now, pythons are snakes that are called constrictors. They do not have venom to first kill the prey, then swallow. So what they do is that they grip the, the prey with their mouth, then coil around it. And every time the prey exhales or breathe out, the holding is they hold tighter and tighter. Once it breathes out, it is more tight and tight until the prey dies. It is said that the prey dies of cardiac arrest as opposed to asphyxiation or strangulation. If you would say, experts say that is more of cardiac arrest. But what is known is that every time the prey exhales, then the python tightens the curve. It is made of muscle, tightens of the holding, the tightens the curve until the prey is no longer alive. Then they swallow. They swallow head first. And another thing to note about the pythons is that their jaws are not fused. They have four different parts. The upper jaw, two different moving parts, independent moving parts. The lower jaw, two independently moving parts, because they tend to swallow very large prey. So the movement, the independent movement of the jaws assists in pulling in the prey, assisted with the teeth that we said they are curved backwards, step by step until the whole prey is swallowed. That brings us to another fact, that pythons are among the largest snakes we have in the world. The African rock python, is among the largest. We have around 8 of the largest snakes in the world. It is among them. They can grow up to around 6 meters. So that explains why they are able to swallow a big prey from antelopes. Some have been witnessed to swallow crocodiles. Some have been witnessed to swallow small warthogs. Anything. Their range of diet is quite large because they are able to consume a big prey that most of the other snakes cannot. So another fact about pythons is that pythons, if they happen to have a very big meal, they can just sit there, or they are likely to remain dormant at that particular place, even for months as they digest the meal. And hyenas have been known even to eat the pythons in that particular state, because it had a big meal. It has to be there, it cannot move for a few months, digesting slowly by slowly. So some end up even being the prey of other scavengers or other predators in the wild. It is the African wild. That is how things are. And to another very, very uh, unique fact about the pythons is that the females tend to show care to their young ones. The pythons are oviparous; they lay eggs. They do not give birth. But the females have been seen to, they tend to take care or stay near the burrow or wherever they lay their eggs around, protect them from any predators until they hatch. And even some have been known to even take care of the young ones for a few days after hatching before they disappear each its own way into the bush. So that is something that is very unique with the pythons, is that the females take care of the eggs or of the snakelets. Now, Another point about another fact about the African rock pythons is that it can be found in all habitats. You can find it in almost everywhere, but mostly you will find it near a source of water. They like to go to the water for cooling themselves, and they swim. So you can find them basically all over, but they will find them mostly near a source of water. Another fact about that is very unique, although also to the pythons, unlike other snakes, is that they have two lungs. Other snakes have one lung, but the pythons have two lungs. Maybe because of the size of the body, I don't know, but they have two lungs. But I believe maybe that is the most common fact about the pythons. Now, with that, I will cover the two of them that we have in Africa. All of them fall under the African rock python. We have the central and the southern African rock pythons, and I will begin with the central African rock python, which is the largest snake that we have in Africa. It is the largest snake that can grow up to 6 meters. The Central African rock python is the largest snake that we have in Africa. Now, another fact about the Central African rock python is that you can find them all over sub-Saharan Africa. They are distributed almost all over in the African continent. You can find an Central African rock python. Another thing, as usual, as we said, is that their females protect the nest, and also sometimes the snakelets. And even here in Kenya, we have a story about Central African rock python that was called Omieri in the Nyanza region of Kenya. That the people there used to relate it with the goddess of harvest, and sometimes they used to give kind of a sacrifice to Omieri. There's a very interesting story about Omieri and the Luo people of Nyanza. You can go and research more. It's a very interesting story that was covered. I will proceed to the southern African rock python, which is the second and the last that we have of the African rock pythons. And the main differences between the Central African and the Southern African rock python is, one, the size. The Southern rock python is a bit smaller compared to the Central African rock python. And number two, things like the scales of the head. You'll find that in the Central African rock python they are bigger. We have some lines maybe below the eye towards the head in the Central African rock python, but they are more clear in the Central African. They are a bit duller or a bit dull in the Southern African rock python. But most of the other characteristics, most of them they share, because they are of the same species. But now the only other difference is that the southern you are likely most to find it along the southern part of the African continent, hence the name Southern African rock python. But all the other characteristics of the python, you will find them in the Southern African rock python. That's it. We just have the two. I hope you've learned. Please continue subscribing and inviting your friends as we learn more, and continue even watching the previous videos, and even waiting for more that are coming. I'll be back next with another different species of snakes as we conclude with the snakes and now move to other beautiful animals of the beautiful continent of Africa. See you in the next one. Thank you.